This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Loot Crate. Whether you're a gamer, anime fan, or pop culture aficionado, Loot Crate has got a crate for you. They curate a bundle of collectibles, apparel, figures, and more that you can't find anywhere else. Crates get delivered to your door. It is like getting an awesome birthday present from yourself every month. And to learn more about the crates, to find out what is available and what deals are running, you can go to f5live.tv/lootcrate. Alright, so one brand that we don't talk about very often, although lately we have been, has been Google Stadia. That was Google's gaming platform that received a hearty meh from the gaming community when it came out, and has not really hit its stride. It works well, but it doesn't have anything that makes it particularly special. There hasn't been any exclusive games or anything like that. Google went and shut their internal first-party development studio down before they launched even their first title, signaling that maybe Google wasn't quite as excited about it as they had let on. Then came an announcement that the company was going to be licensing the technology to other people to white label. We saw AT&T do that recently with Batman, one of the Batman games that they made available to their mobile subscribers, though interestingly, you couldn't play it on mobile, but that's okay. That's a whole different issue. This week, something interesting happened, but it is not necessarily the party that Stadia owners have been hoping for. LG has made Google Stadia available on its webOS televisions. You have to be running webOS 5.0, which basically means the 2020 and 2021 models of LG televisions, but it works. We're here. Your choices are surprisingly wide on the different ways that you can interact with it. The Stadia controller can connect directly to Wi-Fi. You can also pair it with your mobile phone and use its internet connection. If you have a 2021 LG TV, they've got Bluetooth, which means that you could pair an Xbox or a PlayStation controller to it. Or if you've got a 2020, you can even use a long USB cable if you have one and plug it in directly and use any number of controllers. The interface is solid. The pairing to the Stadia controller is not ideal when trying to pair to your mobile device, because unlike other platforms, the pairing code doesn't come up on the initial screen like it should. But other than that, everything runs real smooth. It's a nice, solid implementation of the Stadia technology, but there's a couple problems. One, LG's TVs are not quite the market saturation that, say, Samsung or TCL have. And if you exclude the TCL TVs that launched this year with Google TV on board that have been pulled from sale, then your TCL TV probably runs Roku, which doesn't have it. Your Samsung TV doesn't have it. There's a lot of platforms that it still isn't, if they're not Google. So, yes, this is a good sign, though LG made this promise almost a year ago at CES 2021 that they were going to have Stadia by the end of the year. They came in just under the buzzer. But maybe it is a signal that Google's willing to try again, or try at all, because it didn't feel like they tried initially. Otherwise, we would have seen this elsewhere, right? We would have seen it on Samsung or Roku or somewhere that's not owned by Google.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it on Roku. So, but here's the question, and I guess people who use Stadia don't care that much, but you're still going over a Bluetooth connection, right? So, are you introducing too much latency for a game that requires high speed?
It's what you're doing with Xbox cloud gaming or things of that nature. So it's not that's not a unique latency. And if you use the actual Stadia controller and hook it up directly to the interwebs, then your delay is only the Wi-Fi delay because you're both pushing to the same server, right? You've just got two endpoints, one for video and one for input output. So it's actually when you do that, you technically don't have any additional lag that you would, a frame or two extra with Bluetooth. But if you're talking streaming a game, I think we all know what we're getting ourselves into with that. GeForce Now or Xbox game, cloud gaming. I think we all know what we're getting into, and that we might have a couple of frames of additional lag there.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I was just looking at the selection here. There's a pretty decent selection of games that you can play on Stadia now.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
think
The
these
catalog
are all
has definitely
like
grown.
I think a lot of these are old games, though. Don't seem to be like the latest and greatest
Yeah.
in terms of things that like really require a high-end PC to play or anything like that. I don't see like Halo Infinite on here or anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You're definitely not going to get a Microsoft exclusive on it.
but I mean, just something of that ilk of like or Battlefield or whatever,
something
like
more modern.
things that require a really good PC. I don't see anything on this list that isn't several years old or really to the low end here. Although I guess if you got kids, you can really appreciate that they have multiple Paw Patrol games.
Do they?
And if you've ever wanted to, farm on your TV, Farming Simulator 19 Premium Edition is available for Stadia.
Well, I mean, come on. How can it get any better than that?
I get pitches. There's a company that makes all these simulators. I should know the name, but I've forgotten it. That the company, they make just like the most. They have the farming simulator, they have the bus driver simulator, they have a police simulator. They're just like all kinds of things, simulating all kinds of professions. And I actually find it kind of interesting. Like, yeah, you might never get to be a farmer in your life, but here's your chance.
Well, Farming Simulator, the developer is Giants Software. I'm on their I'm on their Steam listing right now, and somebody says Vask Tech might be another company that's in that space as well. But yeah, so one of the things that I do notice is that Destroy All Humans, which came out last year as the rebirth of that franchise, is on Stadia. So that's pretty modern. It's only a year old. I'm not looking obviously at everything, but I did see that. There's a Katamari Damacy on here. That's pretty cool. I think that's a game that everybody can enjoy. Destiny 2. I mean, there's some quality games on here. There's nothing standout that is exclusive over here. So there's nothing that you couldn't also play on GeForce Now. But if you were playing on, theoretically, if you're playing over there, they're games that you own and you could play elsewhere as well, as opposed to Stadia. Your purchases would be stuck behind Stadia. So there's not a whole lot right now to recommend it hugely. But maybe, like I said, maybe this is a symbol of a bit of a rebirth. Maybe Google's gonna take this thing seriously this time. I guess we'll see with time. Obviously, when they launched, they were a little ahead of an industry that was really about to bloom, right? So maybe they just weren't confident in the market. We had just a couple years earlier watched OnLive trip all over itself to figure out how to fail quickly. Uh, so, maybe they were just going in with some caution, and now that they've seen Xbox Cloud Gaming be massively successful and GeForce Now having success, so much success that studios have said, no, you can't do that. That's when you've had success, when the studios that weren't asked are like, oh, hold on.
Yeah. I mean, GeForce Now gives you a really good. I mean, they're giving you a really good PC. They tell you what if you pay for one of the plans. They tell you, as we went over on on the show a while back.
Yeah.
You now have they have a 3080 plan where you can get access to a 3080 card.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and with this, you don't know what you're getting, but I guess the goal here is for it to be a little more like that, right? Where you're supposed to just assume that it's going to work and sit back and let it go. Whereas GeForce Now is obviously aimed at a more specific market than what
people
Stadia is.
People who would like a high-end gaming PC know what a high-end gaming PC is,
right?
But don't have one.
Exactly. And whereas with Stadia, everything's wireless, it's a different ecosystem. But I definitely think there's a market for something like this if Google will put a little bit more effort into it. I'd love to see it show up on Roku, like you said, cuz the thing that's interesting is if you use the Stadia controller, you don't have the thing that's showing the pictures doesn't have to know anything about games. It doesn't have to be able to take a controller. You can just pair it into the wild or pair it into your phone, either way, and be able to play that way, with your phone signaling the controls and another thing signaling the down for video, which I think is a really clever way of addressing this. And it does set them up for something different, because could Xbox Cloud Gaming come to Roku? Not easily. Right? You'd have to know that the device could support a controller, which if you get a streaming stick or one of those little Roku pucks, it probably doesn't. But with Stadia, it doesn't have to.
Yeah, that is really key, because I would love it, for example, to be able to get NVIDIA GeForce Now on my Roku box.
Mm-hmm.
There is a way to there is a set-top box for it, but you have to buy the Shield TV.
Right. Exactly. And this doesn't require that. Theoretically, so long as they make a client for the product, for the platforms, and here we are with LG being one of them. The problem with Roku, of course, is the way they handle their platform, which we will talk about in just a couple of minutes on in the DRM not included segment. But for now, that's this could be a good sign of things to come for Google Stadia, but don't get your hopes too high because we never know what might be coming next. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.